Hello, America. Jeremy Sladen here, and I wanted to chat for a minute about something I'm sure many of you have run into, especially if you've been a Christian for a long time. And right now, there's a great division in the church on multiple levels, but one of those levels is how engaged should a Christian be in the culture war, especially as it gets into political things. And as we all know, almost everything seems to be political these days, unfortunately. And in my view, that comes strongly from the left, and they're just trying to encroach upon everything. But I digress. So I met with a pastor the other day, and I didn't really finish my point there. So you've got one group of Christians that believes we really shouldn't be involved in culture or in politics. It's our job as Christians to only preach Christ and Him crucified. And then other, theological matters, but to basically as a whole stay out of the culture war, which, a lot of ramifications there. You'd have to be not involved with your kids' schools and the curriculum and stuff at the border. I mean, you could go on and on. So basically a pull-out approach. The other side, and by the way, there's a million viewpoints in between here, but the other big side is no, as Christians, we should be heavily involved in our government, in politics, and whatever your hand finds to do it with all your might. Whatever your mind finds to do it as unto the Lord. And politics would just be an extension of that. So we are divided as a nation right now, but we're also divided in the church on that topic. And I want to give a brief story of something that happened last week. So I met with a pastor that I don't know him that well. But I respect him, and I've known him a little bit at a distance for maybe 2 years. And he had said, there's a lot of things that I really like that you do and all that. So I was kind of like, man, I've got another guy on the team here. We're going to go have a coffee. So I spent about 30 minutes laying out for him what I'm doing, where I'm going, why I'm so, politically engaged and inclined during these times. And his initial response was, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I was kind of like, oh, where's this going? And it turns out he doesn't know maybe or feel as strongly about a lot of the points that I was making. So politically, where he stands is a different matter. I'm not going to get into that. But he brought up Romans 13, and let's read what that is real quick. He said, let every person, the Bible says, let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. So he used that as one strong point to, hey, we should be submitting to our government, not fighting against the government, which it's kind of a different thing than what I believe. He also talked about this idea of sheep versus lions. And that he said in the Bible, we are only called to be sheep. There's only one lion, and that's the Lion of Judah. And as Christians, we're called to be sheep. And what do sheep do? Well, sheep follow. They follow. They're kind of dumb animals, Another big point he made was 1 Corinthians 2:2, which says, for I determined to know nothing among you save Christ and Him crucified. So he said, Jeremy, you can be involved all day long in these other things, but I believe it was either Paul or Peter that wrote that. And it said, this apostle was weighing it out in his mind. What should we really be talking about? And he landed, at least in that moment in the Bible, I determined to know nothing except Christ and Him crucified. So I can understand when you extract those things, why you would land in a place that says, as Christians, we really shouldn't be involved in politics. We should just submit to our governing authorities. Well, it kind of saddened me because it's like, if he's right, then man, I am so far off the reservation because I'm heavily engaged. I think we should be fighting for Christian morality and for goodness and just obvious right and wrong things that are being put upon our children, thrust upon our children, especially, not to mention us, should we just lay back? So I've had some time to think about it, and here's where I want to start. I want to start with Romans 13, submit to your governing authorities. Well, first of all, we as Christians in the United States are not under Roman emperors. They had a very different system then, where it was kind of almost set up for oppression of Christians. We are under a republic. We have a constitution that compels us as citizens to be engaged. Our constitution, all of our founding documents, and especially our founding fathers said that this is a government, maybe for the first time in history, that is of, by, and for who? The people. So we should, from that point of view, be engaged because our founding documents call us as the citizenry to be engaged, not just to submit. Now let's take it closer to home. The Tennessee Constitution. I'm gonna try to pull this up real quick. So Article 1, Section 2, you can see it right there. I'll zoom a little bit. Article 1, Section 2, in our Declaration of Rights, which that's another thing I've heard pastors say a lot from the pulpit even, is say, I'm tired of these Christians that are fighting for their rights. God doesn't promise us any rights. Well, even if you believe that, our Tennessee Constitution does believe in our rights. And Section 2 says this. This is Article 1, Section 2. That government being instituted for the common benefit, the doctrine of non-resistance against arbitrary power and oppression is absurd, slavish, and destruction for the good of, absurd, slavish, and destructive of the good and happiness of mankind. So pretty strong, no uncertain terms there from our Tennessee Constitution saying that, hey, if you're just going to follow along with arbitrary rules and oppressive, dictates from your government, that is absurd and slavish, and it is against the good of mankind. Again, you should be involved. It's saying it from our Tennessee Constitution. Benjamin Franklin said, this is a republic if you can keep it. Well, who is you? And again, we're not under Roman emperors. We're under a republic that is a representative version of government where we elect our officials. Which election, another thing, if the election was, I can't use the S word, or they might throw me off of Facebook. But, if it is a counterfeit election, well, that's a big deal. And the people should be very involved in that. And I know that's a controversial topic, although at this point with what we're seeing going on across our land from almost all the different layers, be it border, be it Afghanistan, be it our energy policy, be it the school boards, what's going with the pornography, the CRT that's being taught to our kids. There is a time where the people should wake up and say, you know what, maybe I need to take those crazy people who believe that the election integrity may not have been all above board. Maybe I need to take that a little more seriously this time around, if not fix 2020. So it's a republic if you can keep it. We've got a U.S. government that calls us, our Constitution calls us to be involved and engaged. And our Tennessee Constitution makes it extremely clear that we should be engaged. So I would use Romans 13 and say, okay, if we're going to submit to our governing authorities, isn't some of that authority our Constitution, both on a state level and a national level, which is calling us into action and to being involved? See, here's the problem, I think. I think right now that side of the aisle, in terms of the Christian mentality toward politics, to disengage, to back up, is exactly what our political opposition, and I think it's also what Satan hopes that we do. If he can't turn us or can't turn us away from Christ, at least don't let them get involved in the culture. At least don't let them shape things or have their influence in the political realm, because as I said before, right now politics is kind of touching everything, unfortunately. So if we're going to back out of that as Christians and remove what goodness we might bring to that, look out, because that blanket of global deception will come on like a storm, faster than anybody has ever seen or expected. And we've already really seen that the last 2 years. So I say, Christian, engage in love, in truth. Yes, our first call is to preach Christ and Him crucified. The gospel message is the message of hope for all of mankind and all of humanity. However, we also have other things. If you're a plumber, be a great plumber. If you're involved in politics or you're involved in the school board, be great at that. Do it. Bring your Christian theology and your Christian heart to that. So it does shape how we are involved. As an activist politically, I don't believe that we should be striving for violence. I don't believe that we should be so pushy that we're turning everyone off. But I do believe we can stand firm on truth, on the truth of Scripture, on the truth of the logic of our world. So take the big trans issue going on right now. The other side of the aisle is attacking the very, very basic core things from the beginning of the book of Genesis. It's almost like they've worked their way back. They took God out of schools, prayer out of schools, so that you can't really teach the Bible or the New Testament, but now they're going back to things that are just basic logic and order and saying, no, that doesn't exist either. So it's been said many times among bickering Christians that some of them just believe that, well, the truth's somewhere in the middle. I call these purple Christians. And then the people like on my side are like, do you not see that we're just in a basic battle between good and evil at this point? And you've got one side of the political aisle trying to flip that, and we shouldn't be surprised by it, but they're trying to flip morality on its head. And on the other side, you've got a lot of fallen people who are basically trying to not flip morality on its head. They're just falling short of their own morality. But I do not hold those in equal tension. I don't think the seesaw is totally horizontal when that's the case. I think you can land with the people that are fallen and who make mistakes, but are generally trying to promote God's order on this earth through politics, because the other side, they sure as hell ain't doing it. So that's where I land. I'm always willing to listen to feedback. I'd like to hear your take on Christians being involved in our government at a political level or an activist level. So give me some feedback in the comments, and thanks for allowing me to share.